Weird coincidence, but I've had two people ask me today whether they should play Expedition 33 or Persona 5 first. And I've also just had in general a bunch of comments asking, like, hey, I'm not really into turn based games, but this game looks interesting for Expedition 33. Would I enjoy it? So, for the first question, I would say that comparing the two games is like comparing apples to oranges. They're pretty vastly different experiences, in my opinion, and the only similarity they really share is that they're both turn based games. Overall, I think Expedition 33 is easier to get into, especially if you're not a fan of a lot of turn based games. I really think this is like the gateway game when it comes to getting into that genre more because of the mixed in action RPG elements, such as like the dodging, the parrying, the quick time events you need to execute. It's also a lot shorter of a game. Persona is like a 100-hour experience. I'm pretty sure Expedition 33 is like around 30 hours. So yeah, it's just gonna be something that you can really get into easily, especially with how gorgeous the game is. And yeah, it's just a really cool game that has like highly engaging combat right from the start. On the other hand, Persona is a 100-hour experience with content jam-packed in pretty much every part of this game. So there's like relationship building, right? There's side characters with individual side stories, and you're gonna want to get invested in pretty much every single one of them. There's the combat, which can get pretty strategically in depth, especially if you invest your time into Persona fusions and all that. Story-wise, Persona 5 is a lot, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of dialogue to read through, and that's not even counting for all the side stories that you want to keep up with. Compared to Expedition 33, I think Expedition 33 has a pretty relatively simple story to keep up with, at least so far. Dungeon crawling can be pretty extensive as well because the way that Persona 5 dungeon crawling works is that you have to leave and then come back unless you try to tank it all the way through, and that can be pretty hard. That compared to the dungeon crawling in Expedition 33, I think the dungeon crawling in Expedition 33 is way easier because you can just like rest at a lot of different points throughout the dungeon. So because of how the nature of combat works in both games, I would say if you're looking for a challenge in combat strategically, I would choose Persona 5 because it's like playing chess. You really got to plan your moves out, and it can get pretty hard playing this game if you play on harder modes. And even the standard mode can get pretty hard sometimes. And if you're looking for a challenge in combat mechanically, I would choose Expedition 33 because you got to learn how to dodge, you got to learn how to parry, and that can get really difficult in this game. TLDR, I think that just because the two games are turn-based games, I really think that the combat is just one thing that you should consider when picking up these two games, because there's other things to account for that I think could add or take away from your overall enjoyment of the game.